Good evening, joggers. Yeah, I got you good this time. So for once I'm actually out and walking about in the evening time. I think it's close to 9 p.m. in the evening. And the reason for that actually ties a little bit back to the conversation that I was mentioning about yesterday about sleep deprivation. Because while I believe I got a more or less the same time that I went to bed last night, for whatever reason, I woke up at 4 a.m. in the morning. And while I could have made a decision right there and then that, okay, screw this, let's go out and take a walk. It was more or less quite dark outside. Not dark, but you know, the sun had barely been going above the houses and so on. It was still hiding behind. So it was quite dark outside, I would say, all things considered. And then we talk about sleep patterns again. And if I would have decided to go out and walk and wake up that early, then for sure I would have been feeling quite tired in the afternoon, since I only would have gotten about 3.5 hours sleep. But well, I decided not to do, but I couldn't not to do any not to wake up at the time, but still I couldn't just fall back to sleep. So I was awake quite a long time until the alarm actually was ringing at 6 a.m. I didn't even feel to go get up and walk at that time either. So finally, around 6:10, 6:20 or something, I fell asleep slightly and woke up again 1 hour later. So that covered like 1 hour more of sleep for me. But then, of course, everyday life kicks in. And I didn't have sufficient time to be out and walk so late. Everything has to be settled. Kid has to go to preschool. And my daily work needs to be settled starting at around 8 a.m. in the morning. So, yep, no time for that. Covered all the daily routines now. Finished work. The kid got to sleep here at 8:30 p.m. It's quite humid outside, but still a little bit slightly cooler because of some rain showers that we had just after lunchtime. So that's quite nice, but like I said, quite moist, and you can definitely feel it in the air. So for that sake, not so comfortable. Today's topic, well, one of the reasons I would say that it benefits me to do these things in the morning also is that my mind is pretty clear or reset for during the night, and usually these things would come more easily to me during such a time, like a topic to talk about. But I gave it some thought, and I think let's talk a little bit about video game music. I'm a big fan of video game music. How do you justify big in that sense, right? But I do enjoy to listen to video game music quite a lot. And this can be anything from the older, 8-bit generation stuff, building up all the way to modern day music in video games. And I do try to buy them if I can, if they are easy to get by. But I also try to be part of some other say groups that enjoy the same thing, and that from time to time again they share some music that they manage to get hold of. And then I get that downloaded and I get it listened to, and I enjoy that. And if I have the chance to get it by myself, then of course I would do so. But I would say that a lot of these especially older older music has never been published so that you can outright buy it separately, or they have been released but they are just so hard to get by, or you can see them for sale for above and beyond prices for what you would normally give for some music. And on top of that, there could be some shipping involved, especially if it's something that only got released in some countries, like in Japan, for example. And my little enjoyment of this started all the way back, I would say, when I was, I would say that I was 12 or 13 or something. I would have to investigate that a little bit because I really don't know. But we had an 8-bit console, a Famicom, a European Famicom that we got way back when it was actually new. So I was playing video games like Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt. We didn't have so many titles actually that we actually owned by ourselves, but you know, there were rental places back in the day where you could get your hands on and try some of these titles, because oh boy, for those times some of those titles were quite expensive, and given inflation by today's standards, that was quite a big price, and it doesn't measure even up to games released in modern consoles today. But we had some titles, and for example, I enjoyed that music and Super Mario Brothers 3 and several other titles. So I had an enjoyment of just listening to the music in those games, or rather, you played those games so much that at some point your mind just stuck to the tunes, and you could remember the tunes, and I would at least sing, or do that with some of the music, because you just remember them. And still to this day I do, tune by tune, note by note. But then of course the Super Famicom was released, or the Super Nintendo in Europe. We never had anything else than the original 8-bit Nintendo. But a friend of mine, he had the Super Nintendo, and he had a lot of pretty decent games on that console. And what games were those? Well, I'm talking about Donkey Kong Country, I'm talking about Zelda, I'm talking about Secret of Mana 2, which was just called Secret of Mana in the European region. So quite a lot of good. Oh, now it's getting really dark. Let's see if I can adjust this a little bit, or you'll just see me barely. Whatever. Yeah, it's getting quite dark. But yeah, there was a lot of good music, and I had a tape recorder back in the day, probably still in some closet at home in my parents' place, and of course some cassettes. And it just so happens that his TV set that we were playing the games on had an audio out plug. So what we would do was that we would hook up this tape recorder straight to the TV set, and then I would record on cassettes the music from these games. Of course, it benefits a lot to do that with games that doesn't have any other, sound effects going on while the tune is playing. So we really tried to record all the audio tracks for these said games. And of course, to do that, you actually have to play the game as well. So it took a while to record. Oh yeah, and also Jurassic Park for the Super Nintendo, of course. That one is especially lovable because it's so annoying to play. I'll get back to that. But yeah, we would play until a stage. We would play until a certain part of the game, stop all the characters, listen to the music to see how it would flow and repeat, if it made sense to record, because some tunes were just really short, wasn't really a music track. Well, let's call it. It was a music track, but maybe not something memorable. We played that, listen to it, make sense to record it, exit, get back to the stage again, press record, and then loop that music track for at least 2 times, and then stop. And I would also do a audio in, audio out kind of thing, because on the tape recorder I could adjust the balance, so I could actually tune out the music slightly while it was recording, so it made it sound nice. And we did it for a good portion of games, like I said, and I still have all of those tapes as a good memory back home, to probably just tuck together with that same tape recorder. Yeah, let's get back to Jurassic Park, one of my favorite recordings, for the sake of what I mean. The music is great in that game, it really is, but the way you play the game is really hard, because you don't have any there's no save points in the game, and this is way back when there were no emulators or save states, so you would have to play the game as it was, and which we did, of course, but you really had to survive. You really had to play the game properly. Luckily there's not so many tunes that you can that is existing in the game. We got all the stages, all the different areas done, but it took a really good while. I think we played the game for like an entire day just to record all of these different audio segments that were in that one. So that, that's also a good memory to bring back. That kind of ignited even further for me to record. But finally then, in the year of 1999, or was it even earlier? I don't remember. I don't recall. 98, 99. Then I was able to sit at a computer with some internet and figured out that there were people uploading for download MP3 files of these things. And I remember the actual first set of tracks that I started to download and listen to was the music from a PlayStation game called V-Rally. It's a decent car racing game that we would play at my friend's house. He also had the PlayStation and so on. But it never hankered back to actually recording that. It was getting too you didn't have that time anymore like you did when you were young to sit and do these things. So suddenly that enabled an entire new world. So I will get into these news groups, these FTP sites or file transfer protocol sites, IRC channels, where people were dedicated to getting these things posted. And slowly I would build up my library, and slowly I would either discover new games that I liked and played and I liked the music from, or I would just go on an adventure, just downloading something that I've never heard about and see if it was worth my while. Or I could just press the delete button and be done with it. So I discovered a lot of music from that time forward, and built up a quite substantial digital library, I would say. I've also done, of course, purchases on my own, and I've moved those over as digital as well. I have a good library in a couple of boxes at home, but all of them are moved to digital, and of course I still maintain quite a large collection of digital media that I, for all purposes, good or bad, downloaded and never managed to get a actual copy, like a CD or something, like a media for. And I still, to this day, even though I just hit like 41 years old, I still listen to that kind of music on a daily basis. And why? Well, there's a certain enjoyment in it. Parts of it is that it brings back memories from the games that you once played. Part of it is because some of the music that has been created over time is really brilliant. And let's say that the later generations of consoles, they have quite a large variety of music, and sometimes orchestral or recordings, right? So quite on par or exceeding what you would get from, let's say, music that you can get from a movie. And they follow the same production value, definitely. And for anybody who wants to explore a new, maybe universe of music out there, I definitely recommend that you try to seek out. There's several channels on YouTube, for example, where you can get a good listen to different albums from different games. There's also live streaming where you can just listen in and maybe find some golden gems that you didn't even know about. I've done that exceeding a couple of times, where I just listened to something, god damn, that was good, and then I would go back and see if I could find this in whatever form. That was my little bit late history for video game music for myself, and I'll end it here before there's still some light from these street lamps, and head back home. I'm quite moist right now. It is cool and it is moist, and that's not a good combination, and it's inviting a cold. So for tomorrow I'll probably be sneezing a lot. Just a heads up, warning. Anyway, hope everybody's good, and have a nice evening. Talk to you tomorrow.